Andrew Cuomo just wants to keep the peace. At least that's what he says when he's telling mainline Democrats in the New York Senate to stop picking on the IDC. Now, the IDC is the Independent Democratic Conference. It's a group of 8 people led by Jeff Klein who are Democrats, and they were elected as Democrats, but caucus and make decisions on the Republican side. Whenever something comes up to a vote, they always align with the Republicans. Now, New York is one of the few states that still has a Democratic governor and supposedly still has a Democratic Senate. One of the few states, because after the 2016 election, I think we lost 70% of governors to conservatives and basically the same percentage to state legislatures. They're all run by conservative governors and conservative senators. New York is not like that. We have more Democrats. We have a majority of Democrats in our state legislature, but we can't seem to get any progressive or even democratic laws passed because of this IDC. And the IDC has gotten into Cuomo's ear saying, tell your Democrats to stop picking on us because it's not fair. Well, if you are a Democrat and you ran as a Democrat, shouldn't you vote democratically? I mean, if you're a Democrat in name only, but yet every vote that you sign goes to the Republican side, does that still make you a Democrat? I realize that New York, and especially the 5 boroughs, are very liberal-leaning. But, for instance, this one particular senator, what's her name? Diane Savino, she's a Democrat from Staten Island. Have you ever heard of a Democrat in Staten Island? No. She might be Democrat in name only, but every vote that she casts is always on the Republican side. Now, you have to keep this in mind, and I'm making a prediction right now that Andrew Cuomo will be running for 2020 for president. And, of course, I'm not really a fan of Andrew Cuomo. He's one of those guys that talks a good talk, says all the good talking points, a lot of the platitudes that you will hear from, Tom Perez and Hillary Clinton. He agrees with all of the liberal talking points, but in action, he really doesn't do anything. A few years back, Andrew Cuomo started the Moreland Commission. The Moreland Commission was to root out corruption in New York State politics. And at the time, they were doing some good stuff. Headed by Preet Bharara, the U.S. attorney, they were going after State Senator Bruno and his corruption, and State Senator Silver, got them both convicted and out of there. No more job for you. I don't know if they went to jail or not. I don't know. But I know that they're no longer representatives because of the investigations that Preet Bharara was doing under the Moreland Commission. Now, after he gets those guys, who were the head, they were the top dogs in the state legislature, then Preet follows the chain, the ladder up, to see who else, and a lot of this stuff was starting to point in Cuomo's direction. A lot of his staffers are either fired or gone. How convenient. But once it started to point at Cuomo, he shuts down the Moreland Commission. Gone. Done. Of course, we don't talk about that on the news, and they might have mentioned it a few times, and then, the next story, and then Donald Trump's next tweet, or, The point is that the Moreland Commission trying to get rid of corruption in New York State was started by Cuomo, and was ended by Cuomo. So my prediction is that he's going to be running in 2020, and he is just trying not to rock the boat. Recently, he's stood next to Bernie Sanders trying to pass for his new bill for free higher education, but it's only covering about 5% of the people, the students, either poor or middle income. It does not cover any of their housing costs or anything like that. It's just the education part of it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for affordable higher education. But the way he's touting it is just the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's only covering 5% of the students who could actually get this. So it's not as progressive as he's leading us to believe. Cuomo is, in my opinion, the male version of Hillary Clinton. He says all the platitudes and the right things, but he's just trying not to rock the boat. That's why he's telling state senators in New York, state Democratic senators in New York, to lay off the IDC, stop picking on them. Because if this starts to get traction, which it kind of is, people are talking about it more often, if this gets traction, then it's going to shed some light on the infighting and the bickering in the state legislature, which is going to point at Cuomo. And he was doing everything he could to get his last budget passed, so he's trying to placate everybody. I mean, of course, this is very political, and, it's one of those conversations about how the sausage gets made in politics. But to make sure that he is going to get reelected in 2018, he is desperately trying to quell this problem, and he is always seems to be leaning on the side of the IDC, and the IDC always seems to be voting Republican. Our Democratic governor is not siding on the Democratic side of the state legislature. It blows my mind. So many more things could be getting done, but that's not the reason for most politicians to run for office. They're not trying to get things done. They're just running for re-election. They want to make sure that they don't piss off anybody so they can continue running for re-election or move their way up the political ladder, which after governor is the presidency. So here comes Andrew Cuomo in 2020, and I guarantee he's going to win the 2018 election for governor. The Republican and the Democratic side, he's not trying to rock the boat in the state of New York, and he is looking for the 2020 bid. I guarantee you will see Andrew Cuomo running on the Democratic side for president in 2020. Hey, this is Antoinette from Transistor Rodeo. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe for more videos and content, and you can follow me on Twitter at Transistor Rodeo.